And we're back.
And we're back.
And we're back. Wartime ZoomShteig number. I don't remember if I said it to my dad, but I might have. So I just said it to him twice. Okay, all good. And we're back. What did you say? Wartime ZoomShteig 201 in the schus of the soldiers, in the schus of the captives. That they should go free soon. Okay, so. Rabbi Yochanan. Okay, so we're doing a new sugya today. Dalet Amabeis. Rabbi Yochanan. Eitzim shenishru ben adeko b'Shabbat. Asur lehasikan b'yantif. Okay, guys and girls. Sorry. Here, guys, look at this like cool area that we're doing here tonight. I could not see my Gemara so well, but it's okay. I can see a little bit.
Like instead of there behind the light, why don't you sit directly in front of
You think that would be better?
you can see. Now you can actually see the whole.
Pretty smart of the Remington, huh? Pretty smart of the Remington. Pretty dumb of the Rosh Hashanah Shlita, but pretty smart of the Remington Shlita. Okay. Still impossible. Okay. Eitzim Shadashru Ben Adek of Shabbos. So branches that fell off a tree, a palm tree, on Shabbos. Asur lehasikad biyadif. It's usher to light them and use them as like to make a fire on Yantif. Speaking of making a fire, Okay, so Okay, so you can't make a fire on Yantif. Oh, so why? Because you're allowed to use trees to make a fire, but what? These trees weren't bin abuchad? There wasn't hachara on the tree? Is that what they're saying? It's like a nolad? It's like a Beitza kind of situation? Beitza, and don't. Oh, because Rabbi Yochanan was the one who said that the Beitza that's born on Yantiv you can eat on Shabbos, right? But you can't touch it on Yantiv, and that was like the thing that we learned yesterday. Zalman, what'd you say?
You can only make a fire with a pre-existing flame.
Right, but you could also only use branches that were separated from the tree before Shabbos.
It
was still whole. It had to have been whole. Chol prepares for Shabbos. Chol prepares for Yantif, but Yantif doesn't prepare for Shabbos. Shabbos doesn't prepare for Yantif. And again, this whole idea of hachana, preparing ourselves. We got to prepare ourselves for Rosh Hashanah. We got to prepare ourselves for Yom Adin. After Me'av Esther, Me'av Eshmoidim, Hashem. Okay. And don't answer me. What about a Beitza, an egg? My time a Beitza. So why did Rabbi Yochanan say that you could do it on Beitza? Randall Patterson. Who's Randall Patterson? By.
Classic.
So it gets me every time, Lamisa. So Randall Patterson. So says Rabbi Yochanan, a tree which or a branch which falls down on Yantif, you can't on Shabbos, you cannot go and use it to light up on Yantif. Oh, to light up, by the way. That's what I was thinking of Yantif. Beitza. Don't be like, oh, where's the come on, Beitza? What about the egg? my time of Beitza. What's the reason that Beitza? Bishum to be Yomi Navi Chaza Ligoma. Because on a Beitza that was born on Yantif, and so on Shabbos you can eat it, but you can't cook it on Yantif, then eat it on Shabbos. You could eat it on Shabbos, but you can eat it raw. Egg raw, like the Rebbe said yesterday, the famous wrestler Rocky. I'm just joking. You said wrestler first.
Rocky Balboa.
Rocky Balboa. Rocky Beitza Boa. So also on Yontif, you were able to swallow it raw. But wait a second, you're able to swallow it raw, but you're not even allowed to touch it, we learned yesterday. So what do you mean you're able to swallow it raw? The low kashtari law ad lebachar, but they didn't permit him. Really, Del Ricey saying you could swallow the egg whole on Yontif, I guess. But they didn't permit him, or it could be eaten. It's just not permitted. The low kashtari law wasn't permitted to him on the Bakar until the next day. Made the idea, the Bas Yoma Asura. People are going to know that Bas Yoma, that day, it's Asur. Eats him. But trees, the low Chazu Yomayu. Trees, they couldn't be burned on the Yantif before Shabbos, or the Shabbos before Yantif. Why couldn't you burn the trees? DVJ, why couldn't you burn the trees on the Shabbos that they fell down before Yantif? Why couldn't you burn the trees on the Shabbos before they fell down? Klaus by Zalbin, Rebbitzin?
Because you're switching the form? Boina?
The form, we have another Rebbitzin. Yid says switching, the Rebbitzin says Muksa. I'm going to say, without seeing Rashi, I'm just going to take a crack at it, no pun intended, because talking about a branch that cracks off. I'm going to say the reason you can't burn it, lo chazu liobayu, is because they were still attached to a tree. But I have another reason. And if you want to catch me and say, maybe they're still attached to a tree, but they can still technically be burned, you want to like come and say that, I'll say I have another reason you couldn't burn them, because it was Shabbos Kaidesh. It's Shabbos. No, the case of the tree is a Shabbos that's before Yantif. The branches fell off on Shabbos. You couldn't use this branch, even if they fell off on Shabbos. On Shabbos, you couldn't burn it because there's a very rare law on Shabbos that you can't burn trees or tree branches. Yeah, I know. I was being. Oh no! I'm so sorry, Rebbitzin. Sometimes the Rebbitzin spills, and I call her Rebbitzin Spill. But tonight, you guys can call me Rosh Yeshiva Shlita Spills, because I accidentally spilled some tea that I was using to prop up my phone. Okay, that's enough of
Rosh Yeshiva Shlita tea spills.
Rosh Yeshiva Shlita Spill seed. No, I'm kidding, but like I did just spill, so I gotta say like sorry. So anyways, so that's why.
So you can't burn that branch at any time because it fell on Shabbos.
Right. And even after it fell on Shabbos, you still couldn't burn it because of that
That's
rare
what I'm saying.
halacha called streifa, which is very not rare. It's one of the 39 amalachas.
So you were just talking about eggs, right? So what you were saying, if you get an egg, then the question was, could you cook it on Shabbos or no?
No, so the question we asked yesterday is egg born on Yantif. Can you cook it on Yantif to eat it on Shabbos? And the Gemara says that because Rabbi Yochanan says you could eat it, so you can eat it on Shabbos, like it is born on Yantif. So could you cook it on Yantif and then eat it on Shabbos? No, because you're not allowed to touch the egg. So what's Rabbi Yochanan saying that it's mutter to eat raw? Da-da-da, da-da-da. Raw eggs in the Gemara. So then Then the Gemara says this law about a branch that falls off a tree. Wait a second, it's exactly the same case as egg. Right? We've heard it before. Case of egg. I don't know. I can't do such a good Trump. Sometimes it comes up. Regarding egg. Regarding egg. Oh no, I just got shot, but it was all staged. Okay. So the tree falls down. What, isn't that the same thing as egg? No, because the egg, it was still something that you could have theoretically eaten on Yantif. Like if it wasn't for the Gezerah, right? For the Gezerah of, well, if it wasn't for Muksa, then you would have been able to eat it on Yantif. And also the Gezerah of Yantif that falls out after Shabbos would make a Gezerah on all Yantif. You can't eat the egg that's born there. But the tree is, the branch is different because it's not burnable, either because A, it's Shabbos, or B, it's still on the tree. So it's not Chazu. Asni Lememar. The Lo Chazu Yabayu Ishari, if you allowed it to be burned that day, Asni Lememar, people would have said, Biyabayu Nabi Sharu. Also on that day, it's also permitted. The Edmond yesterday, Mishum Shabbos Hu Delo Chazi Lasaka. So they say like this. And DVJ's got. So we're saying like this, that on Shabbos, the reason that we would think that the problem was that it fell on Shabbos, and so Shabbos you couldn't burn it because of Hasaka. But you might have not, a person might not have known that I don't know, let's see Rashi. It's a little bit tough. It's a little bit tough. What the Gemara is saying here, what exactly is the answer? We gotta see Rashi. And then I'm thinking we're gonna see Rambam. Because who's gonna tell me no, Rabini or American? Just a silly, all right, it's a joke. Rabini or Aaron never told me no about what to teach. They said you can teach whatever you want, but they only Rabini said, like, don't tell the kids about the poisonous vaccines, and so I kind of hinted it, and apparently it was over the line. What? I'm gonna let a yid drive his car off a cliff? Hell yeah. Okay, so anyways, but me and Rabini met recently. Had a Beitza Shem back in Elul.
You'll be there in Elul?
Kedushin, listen. Say Mr. gives us Siyata Dishmaya. I'm gonna try. I mean, Rabini kind of said I could. But I don't know. Rabini's a good mover and shaker. Okay. I think that I'm gonna be Emir Tashem back in Eluzman, Emir Tashem in Oraita, but obviously nothing is confirmed, even close.
Buy Oraita stock. Buy.
Classic tip. Yo, classic Reckoning Reynard actually is another character.
I know
he's
this
an
one.
He's an accountant, and he is very good with money, and also he shoots ice out of his hands. It's played by Josh Dorf, the Reckoning Reynard. Okay.
Wow.
So
From outside the wall.
from outside the wall.
He built it.
Okay. Listen, people who are listening to the shir, sometimes I watch the shir and I'm like, Shmuel, get back to the Gemara already. Stop freaking talking to your friend.
Mm-hmm. Over here.
Okay, so that's the difference. Okay, so let's see Rashi. Do I have a pen in here? Did you get it, please? Oh, thank you, my sweet love. Okay, Rabbi Yochanan says, Eitim should not shumin trees or branches that fall off a tree. Says Rashi, Shedishbar b'Shabbos. The tree broke on Shabbos. Maybe he got hit by lightning. Yes, you want to go back to the ring? Oh, just in case. Oh, So if it breaks on Shabbos, Asher la'asika b'yad tav, hasavuchla. If you have to fall out the next day, you can't burn it. Be'al teshivedi beitza. Shavarti ba no the bezeh mutar. Rabbi Yochanan was the one who said that if it's born on this one, it's born on that one. I got wrong. I got it wrong. I'm very happy to admit it when I typed the Gemara wrong and Rashi tells us the right thing, and now we can see like the gishmak of Rashi. But really, so I was saying that it was that Rabbi Yochanan was saying usher on he was saying by egg, right? That is born on Yontif is mutter on Shabbos. So don't say you already sent or don't say but didn't you, Rabbi Yochanan, say that you let the Beitza be eaten on the next day? So why can the Beitza be eaten on the next day, but the tree that fell down cannot be burnt on the next day? You're the Kasha, Rivka? Rabbi Yochanan was the one who said that if the egg is born on Yontif, you can eat it on Shabbos. Right? And we come out that it's just to swallow it raw, but still, you can eat it on Shabbos. And now Rabbi Yochanan is the one saying that if a branch falls off on Shabbos, you cannot use it to burn it on Yontif. Why not? What's the difference? That's the Gemara's question. What's the difference? No, but we said Shabbos, Yontif, Shabbos is the same thing. By Achana. We said by Achana it's the same thing. Remember the drasha? Remember the drasha of Rabbah from that we learned it out from. We learned it out from a pasuk about Achana. We learned about the pasuk of Achana from Man, and it says that at Man they would go out on Friday before Shabbos and collect 2 portions. So we see that chol you could prepare for Shabbos. Chol you could prepare for Yontif. And you cannot prepare not Shabbos for Yontif or Yontif to Shabbos, implying that like the same thing either way. So you're saying one difference is that one's from Yontif to Shabbos, one's from Shabbos. So I'm saying that I hear the svara that you're saying, but I don't think that's the reason, because we see from that Gemara, the other Gemara that we learned about that drasha, that there's no difference Shabbos, Yontif to Shabbos. So we have to think for another reason. I hear what you're saying. It's a good svara. So let's see what he says. He says, don't ask me from Beitza that Beitza's muteret zed asur b'zeh, because here by the tree, there's more of a reason to say it's asur. By the trees, speaking of trees.
Speaking of tea.
Speaking of bees, I learned that from Araita, not your year, Cloud Spy, but I learned about shpiz. I learned that word.
What? That's when you have guests on Sukkot?
Ushpizin. Yo, you hear yesterday in Shir we learned about Ushpazichne, which means the Balbayah.
I didn't learn this.
So Ushpazich, Ushpizin, Shpizin, you know? I don't know where it comes from. So it's Ubay Taiba, Beitza Keva de Biyobas. We said the reason that egg is permissible is because on the day it's also chazi. If it wasn't for Muktzah, he loved the Isur B'Shem Nola to Shabbos. If it wasn't because of this Isur of Nola on Shabbos, Havachazia Legoma Chaya, you can eat it raw. Sheyesh B'nei Adam Gomen Kei, because there are people, Clouds by, who eat like that. Zalman, you ever eat a raw egg?
You know that like in Japan they do that. It's only because of how we treat our eggs now in America that we can't eat them raw. Just saying.
you use raw egg in the steak tartare.
Yeah.
Me?
Yeah, you all the time.
I never made a steak tartare, though. Not yet.
But if you did.
Oh, if I did, you're saying I would use a raw egg? Well, you use raw eggs when you make eggs.
There you go. You use raw eggs when you make an omelet. Genius.
It's true.
Over easy.
Okay. So below Sharile ad lebachar beyad yade. Kisharis le lebachar. They said the egg really they're right, so you can eat it on that day. It's Isra of Nola on Shabbos. That is, I think, is derabara. But when you say it's permissible the next day, but yesterday it was usher, Even though the egg was there, you could have eaten it, but he said, "Oh, it's usher to eat on that day." The the bas yoba asur because on the first day it's usher. Aval eitzim, but trees the Shabbos came to be yobayu belav iser mukta nabilo chazu she'ibivarid eish b'Shabbos. Right, I said havara. Right, we said straiba, and I said havara. And the Israel is Ebivarid Eish b'Shabbos. You cannot burn fire on Shabbos. So it wouldn't be mutter to do anyways on the branch. Ishtari luhu lebachar asi lebevar. If you said it was permissible the next day at Yontif, a person would say im naflu bo bayom. If it fell on that day, nabi sharu. That's the chiddush, the bo bayom. That if it fell on that day, if it fell on that day, nabi sharu esmol lo bi'arnum. And the reason that yesterday they didn't burn it wasn't because it's usher to burn to eat on that day, usher to burn on that day. The reason they didn't do it yesterday was because it was Shabbos Kodesh, and you can't make a fire on Shabbos Kodesh. Lo sevaru eish b'chomosh b'secha stayed in Pasuk. So the Edmol, the reason I didn't do it yesterday is because of Shabbos, but it's not because it's usher to burn that the day that it's born. And so if something comes out on Yontif and it's born and the tree falls, the person would say, "Oh, maybe it's mutter." And the only reason that I couldn't burn the Shabbos but one bo bayom is not because you're not allowed to burn a branch on that day that it falls. The reason is because the Shabbos branch, it was Shabbos Kodesh, so of course you can't burn a branch on Shabbos. Okay, Givaldic. Givaldic. We're getting ready for some serious loveness after this, the next sugya. But before we see that, maybe tomorrow, I want to see a Rambam and maybe even a riff. DVJ, how much time do we got left?
About 20 minutes.
Okay, so turn to the riffs. Joking. But I mean, it's actually one day we can get to that point that we're sitting and steiging. We all have Gemaras open in front of us. Okay. And then at that point, hopefully we're like, oh yeah, riff. We know the riff well. Oh, so you're saying that now is not the best time to just randomly pick up and do the riff? Because I don't know where it is. And what, I'm going to look through the whole riff? We got it. We're on a slight time thing. However, I found it. There is this Ve'etzim. The riff adds the Vav. He says, and Eitzim, Shenishru min HaDekel. Here, I know this is going to be like embarrassingly bad. I'm just showing you guys the page like this. Ve'etzim, Shenishru min HaDekel, B'Shabbos, Asher Lasika B'Yontif. If they fell off of the tree on Shabbos, you cannot burn them by Yontif. Why? Mishum Hachana Derabba. You see that this fancy new Gemara has Hachana Derabba in plural, in bold, right? Oh, thank you, Robert. Huh? Oh, yeah, it's good. It's perfect, amazing. So it's put it in bold. V'im nashru min hadekel b'yantiv asur lasika b'yantiv mipnei atzman. If they fell from the tree on Yantiv, you can't burn them on Yantiv themselves bishum dahavu lehu nolad, because it's nolad, like we saw with Rashi. You guys are about to see something incredible. The Yid is about to make an underline with his left hand. I had to become ambidextrous in the sight board because my right in the cast. Okay, anyways. The Asri Lahu Rabbanan Sheva Ya'alev Yitlosh. So the reason that it's usher is that maybe if it's like falling out, if it's like kind of like shaky and like about to fall off the tree, a yid will be like, "Oh, let me get up and like kind of rip it off." So we said nothing that falls out on Shabbos falls on the day. You eat it. That's the next case already. You say, wait a second, Riff. Are we going to see the next case in the Riff before we see it in the Gemara? I don't know if it's even allowed, but I'm going to do it because we're trying to figure out how to learn Ian. And so let's see a little bit of what the Riff says that the next case is. About in a decal, they fall from the decal into right directly. What a case! It falls from the tree right into the oven. What a case! Oven lahu kirav matna. Do like what Rav Masna says. The Amar of Masna, Rav Masna says, "Eitzim shenishru min hadekel l'tanor biyadif." So the trees that fell from the branches that fell from the tree into an oven on yadif marbe alem eitzim muchanim. You just put a robe, I guess. You're allowed to do that? You put a robe of trees that were prepared before yadif and burn them. So wait a second. You have these trees that are usher to burn. And what do? We just pile on the other trees. And even though he's flipping the iser, right? When he's flipping it, when he's making it hotter, he's flipping a tree that's usher to a branch that's usher to burn. So he's the hapech. How do you make the fire bigger in a stove with trees? You stoke it. You stoke the trees. So that's called the hapech in Hebrew. That you're like flipping them around. You're making the fire get bigger. But one of those branches is an usher branch that fell from the tree right into my oven. How could you just do that? You say it's rove, but even though you're still bahapech pisura, keva deruba hedera denu hanach mitali beruva ubehedera kamahapech. The other thing is batul berov. So wait a second. They telling me, DVJ, that if I have a delicious pot of spaghetti and meatballs, and then a piece of cheese falls in, and it's more than 1/60th, so I can just make more meatballs, make more pasta, and be mevatel berov. Am I allowed to do that?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either, bro. So what's the Gemara talking about? How could you possibly allow that branch to just fall in your oven and not do nothing about it? So, yeah, can you make it a little higher, please? I can hold it if you want. I can double fist, right? It says the Amagav the Kaimalon, and even though we hold Eid Mevatlin Isser Lechatchila, exactly like DVJ said. Even though we hold, Shkayach, I love you so much. Thank you for giving us your phone and the light, and now the yeshiva can start even better. Even though we hold Ein Mevatlin Isser Lechatchila, you can't just go and be Mevatlin Isser Lechatchila like DVJ said. You can't just go and cancel the Isser by adding more good trees. Hey, where are you going, Remington? Okay, see you soon. Now we're on our own. Now it's boys' time. That's talking about the Isra Raisa, like Basar B'Chalov, like DVJ said. But if it's just an Isra Derabanan, you can be Mevatel Lechatchila. Okay, fascinating. So we saw that in the Rif. So does that mean
you can be mevatel lechatchila? What does that mean? You can waste?
it means like this: that if a branch falls from a tree directly into your oven, you're allowed to, and that's usher tree to burn. You're not allowed to. It's on Yadif, and you're not allowed to use it to that tree. But the Gemara says you're allowed to add a bunch of trees that you prepared before Yantif to be burned. And so then it would just be batal barov. But you can't be mevatel and iser lechatchila, like DVJ said before. You can't just go and if you have spaghetti and meatballs and cheese falls in, and it's not enough spaghetti and meatballs to mevatel the cheese, to cancel the cheese, to override the
To make
cheese,
it forbidden.
to make it batal, to make it permissible.
Oh,
So you wouldn't be allowed to be mevatel the iser lechatchila, meaning to be mevatel the iser, like you're just gonna go and add more meatballs and add more pasta until there's now 1/60th ratio of meatballs to
right.
right. The question is the pasta even part of the calculation? But that I have no idea. I would have to look into it. But you can't do that. So why can't you? So you can't do that in the DVJ case with Basar B'chalav. So why can't you do that over here with the branch that falls into the oven? Answers the Gemara. Well, this is actually the Rif who's paskening the Gemara. So answers the Gemara, according to the Rif at least, that that's what it is in deraisa. You can't be mevatel the iser lechatchila when it's an iser deraisa, but when it's an iser derabanan, you can be mevatel the iser lechatchila. Okay. So now, since we saw that in the Rif, we're gonna see the Ran. I don't know. Is this a legal order? I don't know, you guys. I don't know if you're allowed to do this. I don't really have as much of like a clear Masorah of how to learn Be'iyad as much as I have. I mean, I do, but I don't know. I didn't spend as much time in my life trying to like figure out how to learn a riff that I don't have that for myself as much of the Mahal that we're doing now. Amir Hashem. The Abishter should give us Siyata Dishmaya. Oh, amazing. So, Beitzim Shenashu Biladekel. Trees or branches that fell from the palm tree. Again, this is the rod on the riff. This is Marbe Alehem Eitzim Muchanim Le Masikan. You can add on to them. I know this isn't so good. One day we're gonna have that, like you guys can see exactly like the lines. I don't know. But for now, a yid may do with the cards been dealt. Okay. So Ikabada Amar did Dafka Bishiyesh Bitanor Eitzim Shel Heter. So only if there's already Mutter Eitzim. Halavachi, if not, low. You can't do that. So this is proven from a few versions, a few girsas of the Gemara. They have the girsa of Mosif the Marve Alehem Eitzim Amucharim. The chiddush there is the Mosif. Right? You can add trees that were mutter, trees that were muchan, prepared for yantif. So it says to add trees, implying that there were trees there already in the first place. Keva deruba dehetera nidu, since the rove is a heter, hanach badli. Ubehetera kababich, he's doing the stoking. Beheter because the others are bata. Ubestabra and stems. The dafka, it makes sense. The dafka, b'she'eno bakir atse ha'isr la'achar she'nis arvu. So it says the Ran, a chiddush, that it makes sense to say that the only case that we're talking about is dafka specifically b'she'eno bakir atse ha'isr la'achar she'nis arvu. They got mixed up. Hamakira, but if he knows them ain't bittul moil, there's no bittul if you can take him out. Ain't bittul moil, the number should dicker la'ayin. So if you can just take the branch out, right? You can just take the branch out, so then there's no bittul. So that really implies that what the Ron was saying at the beginning, that it's talking about that a case where the oven already had trees that were mutter in it. That would also make sense why he wasn't able to differentiate. It didn't fall into an empty oven. You could just take it out. So the Abagav the Kaibalan, even though we hold a Mevatlin Isra Lechatchila, that we're not Mevatel in Isra Lechatchila, the Abagav the Isura Bato Beruba, that even though Isra is Bato Berov, that really is talking about what happened accidentally, it just happened automatically. Right? I always thought about this when I was a kid. Let me make us chillin' and add less than 1/60th, or right, less than 1/60th of milk. What's the problem? No, you can't do it lechatchila. How do we know you can't do it lechatchila? It says Dahachi Tanav Meseches Trumos, because this is what it says in the Mishnah in Meseches Trumos. Obviously, the Mishnah says no Gemara and Trumos, only maybe in Yerushalmi. Okay, Star Shel Truma, but it says Tanah, that means Mishnah. Star Shel, you could have a Beitza, you could have Tosefta and Trumos, so only because it says Tanah, we know that the Mishnah and Trumos. Okay. If it's a Tanya, we would know it was the Beitza. Okay. Star Shel Truma, it was saw it's an amount of Truma. Shenafel L'toch Tishim that fell into Tishim and Tesha 99. So it was not. It's not 1 in 100, which is what you need for Truma. It's 1 in 99. So if another one of chulin fell in, so if it was an accident, so it would be mutter. But if it was on purpose, so that it's usher, because you can't be mevatel the isser lechatchila, you can't add that fourth, that 100 star of chulin lechatchila. Aval isur derabanan mevatel. But isn't there money you can't do it? Perish to explain. Love mikol isure derabanan. Not every isur derabanan. Ella b'derabanan ki high, like this case, Ka'amar. She'eno ella tiltul be'alma. The problem that he's saying is that you're stoking the trees, the coals, the burning branches, and so you're touching a buksa branch. But he's saying, but whatever. 5 minutes? Okay. Perfect. But you're touching the buksa branch, but it's just tiltal. Since it's just tiltal, mikla kali surah, it's not such a big deal. Yo, any rabbi who ever made any of us feel bad about doing buksa, we could show him this rod. That mikla kali surah, what? It's just tiltal ba'alma. Even though, like, no rabbi should make you feel bad, especially about like anything. But maybe whatever, like making you feel bad, I think it's not the right mahalach for a teacher to do. And by the way, I know that I've been guilty of this, because that was how my teachers taught me. And so I know that sometimes, like, I think it's funny and I say things, but like then afterwards, like, it might be people have gotten insulted. I'm like, yo, I'm so sorry. I don't mean to be insulting. Okay. So the tilto ba'alma ubikla kali surah. That's the maskara samech. That's not the maskara. That okay. Ubiyu, however, he's relying on, because that's the maskara of the Gemara that we didn't get to. We're not there yet, but that is Ubiyu. However, in Bechayrais daf chav zayin, Arina, we say the truma chutz laaretz mevat barov. Yeah, but truma of chutz laaretz is bat barov. Chutz laaretz chatoy. Sorry to everyone in chutz laaretz and share. The Hainu, but hopefully you guys will join us here soon. The Hainu, so that implies that you're allowed to mevatel the truba of chutzaras, even the chatchila, even to do it right with your hands, not by accident, but to make it batal. Avilu chad betray even 1 and 2, which is the deoraisa level of rove. It's 1 and 2. We explicitly say Hasam derabu chada the truba betarti the chulin. Sometimes when you have one part of truba and 2 of chulin, deraisa that's bevatel. Miu dafka bechiha, but however specifically in that kind of case, ke'ela iser b'deraisa klal. There's no iser deraisa of truba. The bechutzaret, the chutzaret wake up midi. There's no deraisa truba and shmutz laretz. The kilut fei, and it's very very lenient. I guess bechol bechlal bechutz laretz kedemuchach b'hai pirkin in Gemara, like it says in that parak. Aval b'shar isur derabanan eilanu. Says the Rod that this is not a klal, that every isur derabanan you could be mevatel lechatchila. Because if this was the klal that every Isser Darabara you could be mevatel lechatchila, then lechatchila you would be able to have 60 parts chicken and 1 part cheese. B'daraisa, so you'd be able to have that. I mean, b'daraisa, you can have that anyways. Sorry. But it's in the Isser, even if b'darabara you would be allowed to have that. The chicken and the cheese, because b'darabara you could be mevatel the Isser lechatchila of the Isra of chicken and robe. Okay, we have almost no time left. I do have the ukulele. I'll do a short song, but and Chazara, because tomorrow we're gonna see Rashi on the sugi that we saw in the Rod and the Rift today, and so maybe we're gonna even see Taste and maybe we're even gonna see the Rambam. There could be that there's some good Ian going on over here. The Mister will give us the answer to Steig up. Okay. Yeah, Dishmaya to Steig up. And we're gonna see the Rashi and the Tastes, and the bones are money, and the skeletons are bones, and the bones are dollars, and the worms are money, and the bones are skeletons.